we're here interviewing Dr. Jackson today. And Dr. Jackson, we're just happy to have you to take out time from your busy schedule to have us interview you on your coming to Muskegon Heights. Now, when did you come to Muskegon, and why did you come here?
All right, I came to Muskegon in 1960. I had come from Iowa, where I was in medical school, and I came here to intern at the Muskegon Osteopathic Hospital. When I came here, that was in 1960. When I came here, the hospital was supposed to have a place for where I could live, and we came here. I came here with a wife who had we had one child, and she was pregnant, and they had no place for us to live. They had 6 other interns, and they had all places for all of them to live. They were white. So I got here, and we had no place to stay. They got someone, one of the brothers in the kitchen, and they sent him out, and he found a room that we could stay. Now remember, when I came here in June, and it was hot. It was hot as hell. And we had to sleep in that room. So what we did is, we went out to the lake, got a big towel, and we slept out of there overnight because it was cool enough. And so I began my internship a couple of weeks later, and we had gone away to some of our friends' house because we had no place to live. And we didn't want to live in that small room. So when I came back, we started the internship at the hospital. And it became my journey of joy with aggravations I didn't want. And so when I say aggravations I didn't want, because there was a tendency in the hospital to have discrimination, to place patients, especially OB patients, and one white and black. And they never segregated the babies. They were all together. So they didn't start it. And so that aggravated me because all my life I lived in a non-segregated area. So I felt I had to begin to work on this. Anyhow, we worked on problems at the hospital, and fortunately we got them solved there. And when I finished interning, then I looked for a house. And any place we went, they said they always asked what color. And if we talked to them over the phone, and we asked what color you want. And things like this. And I was determined that I would, since I had gotten my degree and I had finished school and finished my internship, that I had to be a responsible citizen in the community. So I started talking to some people around town. So we had that New Year's Eve the following year, after 1960, we went to a party given by the newspaper, Chronicle, and there were reporters there and other people there, and we were talking about the race question, the discrimination, and how bad it was here, and this was supposed to be Michigan and so on, and that we should think about changing it. Well, there was a reporter in the next table, he wasn't with our party, and he said, all you niggers need to get what you got. And when he said that, another reporter hit him and knocked him out. And he got up and he said, still the niggers are bad. And he hit him again and knocked him out. And so we said after this, there is something drastically wrong.
Yes.
And the only way it's going to change, we have to change it. So we started talking to people. We talked to some of the clergy, and especially Father Sheehy, who was a Catholic priest, about using his beliefs like they should be. And so he was willing to join and do something. Then we talked to a dentist, Dr. Howe, who had just graduated from dental school at the University of Michigan, and he couldn't find a place. He couldn't find the place he wanted to have his dental office, and he was a hometown hero.
Okay.
So we convinced him that it was not the Urban League that could do it, but that we as citizens could get out and do it. So we began to form a group, and we talked among each other and explained and gave ideas, and we took those ideas and we said, let's start doing something.
Oh.
So the thing we started, we felt was nice and calm. We didn't want to do any fires at that time or raise any cane at that time, but to kind of educate the community so they would look at how they were. And so we went down and started demonstrating, and the community had a fit. We took picket signs and walked downtown, and the paper blew it up like we were here with an army or something. And then the town started being aware of the way it was, and we started struggling, creating certain groups, and with that, we got people to think about what they could do, especially the so-called religious folks that here they go to church, which was the most segregated place on Sunday in this town, to begin to make their beliefs something that would be more human. And we had to struggle for the next 4 or 5 years. We got to struggle into housing, jobs, and anything that was discriminatory, we brought to the public, and we struggled with it. And the town had a hard time, because at times I would get calls, I'm coming over to kill you, and I would tell them, well, make sure you bring your undertaker. And things like that. In my office, there were signs by the Ku Klux Klan that we were gonna get you and your family. We had a cross put out where we lived, and so all that was an experiment. But we kept working. The more we got a reaction, and the more we knew people were thinking about it, and that we were going to change it one way or the other, and that there was no special way. And if prayer didn't do it, then violence might do it. And we felt that we wanted the people to begin to search their souls. So we had as many meetings informing people how they were. We had many of the plants that weren't hiring. We let people know who they were and so on. And so they began to at least hire. And so we worked up until we had decided to build a house. And when we always loved Lake Michigan when we came in here. It was really, we really fell in love. And so we decided to live on the lake, on Norton Shores. we had 10 builders who would not bill for us. And the reason was most of them gave because we weren't supposed to live up there. That was a place for white folks.
Oh.
And so a funny thing happened. The police chief, who was from, I think he was from North Carolina, said to them, if you do anything to the Jacksons when they move up, I'm going to arrest you.
Whoa.
And this kind of cut down some of the temperament in there. So we finally found a builder and we moved on the lake. And so that was my experience to start living in Muskegon. And I've been in practice ever since then. That's been about 50 years. And a lot of it's been joy and a lot of it's been sorrow. But the big joy is to struggle with the population and see the change that you can make.
Well, it just seems like, Dr. Jackson, that you have really had a struggle, but you've been a real community advocate and trying to rebuild the community and the people. How old were you when you first came here?
I was 28.
28 years old. And how old are you now?
I am 82.
82, all right. And you still practicing?
Yes.
Oh, he's still practicing. My goodness, that's a wonderful thing to know that you're still working as, and I'm sure you have a lot of parishioners. I looked at your office
parishioners,
once.
I'm not in the church.
A lot of, well, I'm sure you had a lot of
patience.
Patience, that's
Yeah.
right, patience. Because I was in your office once and you had a large display of people that you had, that you had served as their doctor and their children. Many of the people are in my church that know you, and you had their children. You delivered a lot of them babies, and we just like to say that we appreciate everything that you've done. Did you know anyone here when you first came to Muskegon?
I didn't even know there was a Muskegon when I was looking for internship, and one of the doctors here came and he told me all the things he had, and I asked him, are there a lot of black folks there? He said, oh yeah, a lot of black folks there. And he said, you come and you do well. And it's an ironical thing. When I came here and got ready to practice, one of the doctors signed for a loan for me so I could open an office. And I wanted to open an office where everyone who wanted to come to me would be available to come. So I opened it downtown, right? Basically in the women's club in that area. And I stayed there for 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
So I fell in love with, with the people of Muskegon area. When you work and struggle with people, you get a bond that you normally do not get.
Okay.
And that happened. So, my heart was really with the people, but the people have to learn that their hearts have to be with people too. And so that was part of the struggle there that occurred here. Had Muskegon changed? To a degree, but change only keeps coming if you keep struggling with it. It doesn't happen where you do human change, you just don't do something and it takes care of the situation. We human beings have a way of reverting back to what we shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
And so we've been struggling, and remember, we had a big-size civil rights movement here, and I'm proud to say we never had a riot.
Oh,
we never had maybe at times we needed one, but we didn't have one. And so, so that we were kind of proud of that. And this museum comes out of the development of the civil rights movement. That a group of people, including myself, begin to realize what else can we do to really continually make the kind of progress we should have. And we felt knowledge. Knowledge is the basis of progress. Ideas make the knowledge come alive. And that, so we got a group of people, including Dr. Burrell over here.
Yes.
And we began to say, let's develop knowledge. And what's the best thing to develop knowledge is just about yourself.
Right, right.
If you know yourself, at least you don't walk in the darkness. And this way, you turn around and see some light. So this is what we have done. This has been our labor of love from a number of people here to put knowledge in our head that we can turn around and always have it, and it becomes really part of our soul and part of our living.
Now you came here. How many children did you have when you came here?
I had 1.5.
Okay, 1.5. All right, and your children were mostly educated here.
Yeah, they went to high school here.
All right.
And
okay.
now we have 2 that are physicians, and 1 that's executive. So they got some education, but the big education you want to give your children is to be out in the community.
Absolutely.
And I have one son that's quite active in the community. He's not here, but he's in Oklahoma and has a real people consciousness that we're very proud of.
Now, when you came, where did you come here from?
Iowa. Des Moines.
Iowa.
Yes.
But that wasn't your birthplace, was it?
No, my birthplace was Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I stayed there till I was 18. And then I came to Detroit and went to Wayne. And I went to Wayne for 4 years. And then I went on there to medical school.
Okay. What was it like when you first you told part of what it was like when you first came here, but what have you seen positive progress from all of the civil rights movement that you started? I think the community people tell me that you started the civil rights movement here with people that worked with you and helped you, and what difference can you see through that struggle?
Well, I think the difference is that people realize they're in trouble. When they came here, they thought things were all right, but that's to me is one of the biggest gains in this area. Is white folks realize they're in trouble, black folks realize they're in trouble, and that I hope out of that awareness that people will begin to struggle to get themselves out of the trouble.
Now, during your you still enter your practice, I understand, but then you also had a vision for a different type of involvement dealing with community and involving people. So you started the museum. How did you get the idea that you wanted to have AfricanAmerican Museum? I know you were the one that bought the building, and you just went all out to.
Well, with struggling with people gave you the idea. Do you ever go along and you say, what else can I do? And you put your mind to it, and all of a sudden you can do something else. The whole idea of, we had the forums. We had the forums about blackness and the struggles blacks were having here.
Yes.
And we had very successful when it came to audience, but very disappointing when you tried to get the same audience out into the community, struggling with what was our problems.
Okay.
And so we had two of them.
Yes.
After it was over, it was like the shouting. You heard it stopped, and you heard no voices. And so you think, well, see, my philosophy is you don't give up. You keep going and keep going till you know more.
Yes.
And you never give up, and in this way you keep, ideas are what makes the world. And you keep bringing up ideas or listening to ideas of other people, and you turn around and begin to create other things that come out of these ideas. And that one came out and said, let's start a museum.
All right.
And so we all got together and we began to start it. And the nice thing about developing something, if you develop it, if you take nothing and develop something, your heart seems to grow fonder, faster.
Right, yes.
And so that's what happened. We've got a group of people that have faith in themselves and faith in the community, and we started from the floor on up to go to the museum. And so that's been all my philosophy. You know, when I was a little kid, I always, well, after I was about 11 years old, I always said I wanted to be a doctor.
Oh.
And people would say, well, you know, you don't have any money to do this. And I said, money's not the problem.
Okay.
It's your head that's the problem.
Okay.
And if you can keep that head functioning, you can go do anything you want. And so here I finally went to high school, and after a while I found myself in college. And I didn't come from rich folks.
Yeah.
And I didn't, they weren't very, very poor, but they were very poor. And that way you had to think, if you were going to do something, it's like if you wanted to eat good, you got to plant a garden.
Okay.
And so the same way, if you want to go to college, you got to think about how you can go to college.
Right.
Not how you not can go to college.
So did you get little jobs and things?
Oh, I had saved. The funny thing I like to talk about, I had a little window washing company, and I would wash windows once a week, and I would charge. They knew what I was going to charge and everything else, but I always said to them, I want you to give it to me in change, because if you had dollar bills, if I hide them in the cellar where I live, the rats would eat them.
Oh.
So I used to get $50 and quarters, and when I got ready to leave for college, I had $500.
Oh my goodness.
I had them a big pan of thing, and I had them buried in the potato cellar.
Okay.
And so on, but you know, that was always my dream of going to college, and I knew I had to find some way to go, and so that became quite a tale there. I pulled up and my mother was real surprised, and she said, "You really did something, didn't you?" You know, and all that makes you feel good.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
On that line.
I'm sure your mom and dad must have been very proud of you. The only doctor in the family.
Well.
And you're the youngest, are you?
We're the youngest. We're the last of the last. Our mother and father had us at the end. My mother was 45 when she had us.
Oh my goodness. So you're saying us, what do you mean us?
I had a twin brother, but he passed away about 10 years ago.
Oh, you had a twin brother.
Yeah, and so yeah, they were very proud. And You know, when I left home, you can figure I was 18, and my mother was 5, 6, was around 62.
Okay.
And can you imagine a parent 62 raising up a kid? You got to have a lot of gumption somewhere. So that was the beginning, the start of my life.
Yes.
I was very fortunate. I lived in the area where Paul Robeson lived, and he was a great inspiration. He was my idol when I was a child.
Great.
Of the things he had done, and his proudness to blackness, and of course a very talented person there. So when I left home, I was ready to go forward. And of course I got to Detroit, and I'd never seen a city like Detroit. Detroit then was a jewel. Even though it was segregation, the segregation, it was such that you were proud of blackness, because what blackness was doing.
Now, you went to school, grade school in Springfield.
Yes.
Did you experience anything like prejudice or?
Well, white folks have always been a bitch. You know, I mean, that's a new. I mean, truly, the racism kept white folks in their position, and it's been since our ancestors got here, and ever since they arrived from Europe. And so you had where black folks lived, you had where white folks lived. You had where poor white folks lived. They tried to live away from black folks. And and then where the wealthy lived, it was just far in some distant corner. That the only way you'd see there, you would go and work for them.
Okay.
And so on. But the segregation was kind of a how can you say it? It was kind of not talked about, not really pushed on. There was no place, you could go any place to eat, the movies, you couldn't go any place to live, and you couldn't, now black politicians were beginning to run, but we black people in New England felt we were special kind of black people because white folks didn't hang us. And, yeah, really. And white folks didn't hang us, and that we pretended that we could do anything they could do. And we were doing the same old hard jobs that black folk were doing every place else, like the foundry.
Right.
And my father worked in the foundry for 45 years. We had come up from Montgomery, Alabama. So we just had thoughts that were not honest thoughts in our mind. And that when I left Springfield, I thought I would catch me out. And I was different from other black folks because I was in New England. But you know, if you get involved with people, you get educated. And in high school, I had many arguments with the teachers, especially on the slaves. At that time, they were talking about that slavery. We were happy with slavery. We danced and look at that, and we sat down and ate watermelon and felt happy and things like this, and we believed it.
Yes.
We believed it. And so I remember one of the first big fights I had with a history teacher. And you know, I just said to him, "Are you happy being a slave? Are you happy being whipped? Are you happy being one way?" And he couldn't answer these.
That's right.
Because he couldn't find some lie there, and we must. And you know, young people are they're just great. So the rest of the kids who were white just bombarded him like mad. I went to a school, was special school. There was 500 students at the school. There was 6 black children.
Out of 500?
Yeah, they wouldn't let the black children go there because it was a special kid
Oh,
school to go on to college.
I see.
And if you didn't have a certain grade point, you couldn't go to the school. And so that was their way of discriminating, and mainly well-to-do children went there. Very few poor white children went there.
But did you all went to that school?
I went to that school. I went to the school.
Yes. Oh.
And, oh yeah, I went to school and graduated from the school. But that was the attitude. You got to remember, for a long time, we black folks in this country lived in the sleep. We were sleepwalkers, and because we didn't wake up and see what was around us.
Okay.
When we began to wake up, then some of us went forward, and some others drowned. So, so I was raised in the kind of atmosphere. Remember, I was raised with Southern parents, and what did Southern parents tell their kids? Don't get in any trouble.
Right.
Take it easy.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
And at that time, you know, when someone says this to you, you know there's something wrong, and you begin to think about what's happening. But I enjoyed my youth.
Yes.
And especially New England, because there's a lot of pride, and you pretty well moved around.
And during your college years with your pre-med program, could you tell us something about some of the struggles that you experienced coming through that part? Because I know that
I had no struggles in that. You just had to sit down and study.
You had to sit down and study.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to finish up with your...
It takes about 4 years. But you just, if you do the work, you get the results. And that's basically it. You didn't want to do the work, you didn't get the results. And when I came along, they didn't say, well, we'll give you a second chance. They flunked you out and away you go. And so, if you were sincere about it.
And now you've been practicing for how long?
50 years.
For 50 years. Now
that's not long enough.
Do you ever intend to retire, Dr. Jackson?
I think when I have my funeral, I'll retire. I mean, retire, I don't think human beings are meant to retire. They can't go as fast as they did the day before. But human beings are meant to work till time comes for us to go to our never, never land. And that I try to keep my health up so I can keep going.
Now this museum, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the James Jackson Museum. How do you run the museum, and how do you just kind of keep that afloat? Because a lot of people come in and they see what's here, and you really are the responsible person that run, you know, that's over the museum and have freight a lot of the expense and everything. So how do we really keep things going here?
Well, the first, excuse me, the first place, one monkey don't run the show. So that means I have to have the help of other human beings. Cockroaches don't run a museum. Dogs don't run a museum. Humans run a museum. So I have had the help of the public to run the museum. And that's one of the things that I was always taught, and I think really that came from my parents, the importance of people.
Okay.
And the importance of people's relationship to each other. And that really has run the museum.
Okay.
And that we get donations, and we are real careful about how the museum is done. This is the museum of the people, not the museum of the individual. So we don't splurge. Only reason we splurge on the museum is for the people, not for individuals. And our attitude here is that if we take care of the museum, it'll take care of us.
Absolutely.
And that we have people, everyone in the museum is a volunteer. Everyone volunteers their time. And it's been wonderful to see the people come in. And because we feel this land is their land,
yes,
and they have to take care of their land. And they have to take care of the museum. And the people have been very receptive. You know, it's like anything else. You never get enough. We need more and more people, and they're welcome here when they come in. And we're open 6 days a week, from 2 to 5:30. And the museum is free, and we hope it will always be free. But you have to come in and donate. Because if you don't cook the food, you can't eat it. And so this is the way here. If you don't donate, you can't turn the lights on.
Okay.
And we want, when we're here, we want the lights on.
Absolutely.
So we can not have the darkness and see the light.
Now, what is, how do you determine how the community have accepted and appreciates the museum by their attendance? Do you have a way that you keep the attendance as people come in from time to time, from year to year, so that you can know just...
Yes, well, every time, when one comes up and they sign up, this gives us kind of a record of where we're going.
Okay.
And when the weather is wonderful, the community is wonderful. When the weather is bad, the community is bad. And so a lot depends on the weather. We know that people are glad we're here. We just feel not enough people are glad that we're here. Because we want people to come in and get knowledge. Once you have knowledge, it's better than the bank, because it never goes away until you go away. And we want people to feel that this community is theirs. And until they can get to the level of feeling that, they become a stranger in the community, and they don't treat it like it's theirs.
All right, you have a board, trustee board, a board of directors that work with you here. And
Yeah.
I was wondering about the grant program. Did you use grants to facilitate this place, or does it come just by?
It comes by people's donation.
All right.
Both, not only in money, but also in spirit.
All right.
And it keeps things going and moving forward. Money will never build this place, but ideas will make it so. So.
And I noticed, Dr. Jackson, you have added on to the original part of the museum here. Were organized. When were you organized here? In 2008 and 2006, and you had another addition placed on?
Yeah. Well, you remember when we used to use a separate place that wasn't in the museums, but it's a community place for education. Well, when we got this one room, which used to be a bookstore, so it's historically it's a place of ideas and thoughts, that we needed I was going to say engagement ring, but we needed a arena where people could have education.
Oh.
And so at that, it kind of stimulated us to turn around and build another area that was an educational area. And in this area, we have televisions, we have movie cameras, and we have exhibits. And that way we can do education here, right in the place, and we invite people to come and feel real comfortable. And this dear lady over here gave us some beautiful chairs, so when we come, our butts won't be sore after we sit. So we have made it comfortable, and we for people to come in and see all kind of DVDs. We have DVDs on different part of history. We now, after developing the museum, we realized all the center of knowledge in this world came from Africa. So our emphasis is on studying Africa and how we got over here in America. And so we have a big emphasis on different parts of Africa, and we keep moving that way, and ideas keep developing.
Okay. Now, do you have something in the museum that would interest youth, the children, and different ages, like, you know, children, high school youth, and the adults, just like an all-round thing going in the museum that would interest the different categories of people?
Well, the whole theme that I like in the museum, showing the progress of people in a concrete manner. See, ideas are not concrete manner, but it enables you put things to show you how you move ahead. Mm-hmm. And you can look back and see the visual appearance of what happened. Mm-hmm. See, it's like I always mention, knowledge is pictures in our head. It's pictures in our brain. And when we want to think about something 10 years ago, and sometimes you can pull things back to help push you forward. And so that's what, see how people develop, how human beings become human, mm-hmm. How what is labor is really love. Okay. And what this love does to you in making a better human being. Yeah. That's what we try to show, when we show in the museum, and that's what I see when I walk through. Mm-hmm. Look at all the struggles of people, different places, but all having the same common denominator, mm-hmm. that we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. And so this is what this museum says this. People can walk around and say, oh, that's my uncle, he was doing this, mm-hmm. and so on and so forth. Memories sometimes become whipped cream. It depends how you use them.
That's a nice way to put it.
And this is what this is, memories. Yesterday and the future.
And what do you see for the future for the museum, Dr. Jackson? It's going so well now, and we have teachers bringing their students in. We have young people that are interested in this museum. But, you know, it's been just wonderful up to now.
I see human development.
All right.
That's what I see.
And what do you want to see? You know, you talk about a lot of times when us older ones are gone off the scene, that you want to see this museum continue to thrive and to, you know, be a place of education for people to come in and never die, but just continue on and on and on.
I want to see the pivot to help building this community.
All right.
By using the past to help shoot you into the future.
Okay.
I want it to be a core part of this community. And I want this community to help it be that way.
All right.
Because it's something that you can always fall on, think about, and it's almost like a prayer. You get down and have a prayer. You pray so it can lead you into the future. And I don't mean in heaven or hell, but into the future of human development. We're put here to help each other.
Yes.
And we should struggle so we can do that. And I want to see this museum doing that to the community.
That sounds really good. And you've had, through all of your struggles and all of the contributions that you have made to the community, to your practice, to people, civil rights, and to the museum, it seems that you've had a lot of people that revere you and really do appreciate you, Dr. Jackson. And I'm one of those people. And you have, I just admire your volunteer staff that you have, and the young man that comes in and does a lot of our taping, video,
what's his name?
videoing, and Dylan, what's his last name? Hawk. Dylan Hawk. He's just been a jewel for the community, and he and Dr. Jackson just fell in love with each other, and they just communicate so wonderful, and we want to thank him too for all of these tapings and all of the involvement that he has had in this museum, and for everybody that has volunteered and brought things into your museum, Dr. Jackson. I just think they have to be commended, and we have a we really have a good mixture of volunteers that work in the museum.
Give yourself some credit too.
I'm giving myself, I've been here too since we started, and I'm just really elated on the progress here and all the things that have been done. And I too congratulate others as they congratulate us. And we do want it to continue.
That's what love does.
And that's what love does, yes. And I just love our theater room over there. We have a theater room that we show DVD movies every day, Mondays through Saturdays. And it's so educational for the people. And Dr. Jackson is always ordering some kind of DVD, some kind of, what do you call them? Educational movies to show the public, and they just enjoy. Sometimes we show those films and that he buy, and we have 25 and 30 people to come in at one time to sit and listen to and dialogue on what's going on, and that's very educational too. And I think that's an asset that you have really brought forth for the community as well.
Thank you.
So, with that, I would like to thank Dylan, and thank you, Dr. Jackson, for your interview today. And is there anything else that you would like to let the community know, or you want to say before we close it out? But we've enjoyed your...
Join us.
Join us.